Hey everybody, I wanted to hop on here real quick, as I promised. Let me share my screen with you. Get my microphone going for you guys. And hold on just a second, you'll be able to see my screen here. So like I talked about earlier, I wanted to do a quick video for you guys on IV drip rate equations. And so let's look at dopamine, because that's kind of the one that a lot of people have a hard time with. And I'm going to use my screen here so you can see what I'm writing. Just kind of disregard the poor penmanship, because I can't rest my hand on my screen or anything. So let's look at dopamine drips. Okay, and let's see. Let's make my pencil black so you guys can see it better. So the general formula I'm going to use is going to be this: dose times weight, and this is your drip set, over your concentration. So let's work this out. So if we have a patient that we need to give dopamine to, and the doctor orders us, so the order is going to be 5 micrograms per kilogram per minute. And our patient weight is 75 kilograms. So roughly 150, then add about 10%. So 155-pound patient, right? And then the concentration. So when it comes to dopamine, there's going to be an ACLS concentration, which is 1600. Oops, that's going to be micrograms, not milligrams. So micrograms, and it comes out to be per ml. Or they're going to give you a scenario with the Kern County concentration, which is 800 mics per milliliter. So one of these two numbers is what's going to go down there for this. So to do our formula, we're just going to plug our numbers in. So we have 5 micrograms times a 75 kilogram patient. I'm going to use a microset for my drip rate, which is going to be 60, right? 60 drops per ml. If you use a macro, we're looking at 10 drops per ml. And then there's a 15 one in there too. So it doesn't matter what set you use, as long as you put the right number into the formula. So we're going to use our microset because we like microsets for drip rates. And our doctor ordered us to have ACLS concentration. So we're going to do this over the 1600. So the first step is to do all of this first. So you will be able to use a calculator. So you'll have a calculator with you. So we're going to take 5 times the 75 times the 60, and that's going to come out to 22,500. And then we're going to divide that by the 1600 to get our drip rate. So 22,500 divided by 1600, and that's going to give us 14 drops per minute. All right? And it's that easy. So there's the first one. Let's do another one. So let's say we get an order. So here's going to be a big order, right? Let's say they order us 15 mics per kilogram per minute, which is a lot, right? And our patient weight, let's say our patient weighs 255 pounds, right? We got a big patient. And the doctor ordered us to use Kern County concentration. So the first thing we have to do is convert this, right, over to the kilograms, because our order isn't micrograms per pound, right? It's micrograms per kilogram per minute. So we have to make sure all of our information and it all matches. So we're going to take 255, divide it by 2.2, and that gives us 115, 15.9. So let's go 116 on the kilograms, right? So let's make our formula here. So we have 15 times 116. And like I said, we like using macro sets. So we're going to go right with that 60. And then we're ordered to use Kern County concentration, which is 800. We know that, so that's something that you're going to want to just make sure you memorize, or you know when we say Kern County versus ACLS concentration. So we're going to multiply all of our numbers together here on the top part. So that's 104,400. And we're going to divide that by 800. And that's going to equal 130.5 drops per minute. Right, so if you go 130, that's fine. If you go 131, that's fine also. So in your skill scenario, your drip rate, you're gonna have, if you guys never used dial-a-flow before, you're gonna have your bag, right? Here's your IV bag. Make sure you put a med label on it. So let's get our med label, right? We're gonna add dope to the bag. There's our med label. And then you have your 60 drop set. We know it's a 60 drop because if you go out into your ambulances and you take a look at the differences between a 10 drop and a 60 drop, when you look at the drip chamber of a 10 drop versus a 60 drop, right? The 10 drop looks like this, right? And here's your drops coming down. The 60 drop has a little needle right there on the end, and it makes smaller drops. So if your packaging was opened or you're not sure what your partner maybe spiked for you, look at your drip chamber and that will tell you. So we have our little 60 drop drip chamber, and here's our line coming down. And here's the connection, right? So right here, and let's say our patient's arm is right there, right? So here's the IV for our patient arm. Right here in between is where we're going to put our dial-a-flows. So if you've never used a dial-a-flow, we got a little connector here to plug it in, and then it's connected to a dial. And then this is connected basically to an IV hub, and you're just going to plug it right into your patient arm. So the dial-a-flow has like a little kind of caret on it, and then there's numbers this way, 60, 100. And so you're just going to turn the dial to whatever your answer is going to be. So you will have 4 minutes to complete this station. Okay, so that's 4 minutes to get the information, 4 minutes to hit all of those steps on your sheet, which would be checking, you got to check this bag and see what kind of fluid is in there, all the way to actually plugging it in and turning it on. So you have 4 minutes to complete that. So what a lot of the students will come in and do to make sure that they're not hung up on doing the calculations, which is where when I've seen students fail this in the past, it's been on the math. So if you make the math really easy on you, then it gives you time to do the rest of it. Because you got to drop the medication too in the appropriate amount to add to the bag, right? So, oops. Okay, so you'll have a piece of paper available to you. So what my students do, you have 2 minutes to set up your station kind of however you want. So on this piece of paper that they get or they bring in with them, actually you bring it in with you, what my students do is they will start and they'll write this out. And they'll either do 1600 or 800. So when they get their scenario and I tell them you're going to administer 10 mics per kilogram per minute to a patient who weighs 80 kilograms, and then you'll look at your drip sets, and for the most part, they're going to be 60. So you'd be pretty safe putting 60 in there. But you have to look because you'll have an option of 60 drops and 10 drops. So you have to make sure you're grabbing the right one. It's going to be up to you what you grab. And then we'll tell you to use a Kern County concentration or an ACLS concentration. So when they get that information, they just cross it off, and they've already got their formula ready to go within the first 10 seconds of the skill station. So that leaves you the other 3 minutes and 50 seconds to do everything else. So this information right here will be given to you, and they will also tell you, you'll have an option of like a 250 bag, a 500 bag, or a liter bag, and they'll tell you which one of these you're going to use. So for ACLS versus Kern County, you need to know how much dope, right? How much dopamine do you add to each bag? Okay, so you've got to know that. So basically our vials are 400 milligram vials. So you'll need to know, the easiest one to start with is this 500 bag. And then from there, you can either double those numbers or cut them in half, right? Because 250 is half of 500, or 500, 1,000 is twice as much of 500. So as long as you remember how much in here, right, which this is basically 400 or this is 800, you know how much you got to add into each bag. So this is something you want to remember, along with this right here. Get this written out on your paper early on, and then you don't have to worry about that, or just memorize it. So if you're using, let's say, epi, and it's just a microgram per minute and there's no kilogram, then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about that unless your drip, it depends on your dose. Is your dose kilogram based? Then add it in. If your dose is not kilogram based, then take it out and just do your dose times your drip set over your concentration. So I hope this works for you guys. I hope it makes everything a little bit easier for you. Again, just get this set up right here on that paper when you walk in. And then as you're getting your information, you plug your numbers in, and it's easy to do. I don't want you guys to fail on this because you're not sure about the math. So I hope that helps you guys out quite a bit. I'm gonna turn this off and go back to my Zoom meeting, and we will see you guys here in a little bit. So hope this was helpful for you, and we'll talk to you guys pretty soon. All right, bye.